What made you believe that you're gonna be committed to something like this and it's gonna bring you that much success?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I used to be a software engineer, and back in 2007, when I was working at Lawrence Livermore Labs, they went through a major transition. And as a result of that transition, they completely changed all of their benefits, including their retirement. So I had an
Mhm.
opportunity at that time, Binky, to either take my old 401k and roll it into the new 401k program or do something else with it. And I vividly remember sitting at my kitchen table, looking at my 401k statement, thinking to myself, the only way this goes up is when I put money into it. This is ridiculous. I'm never going to be able to retire at this rate. So I knew
Right.
I had to do something different. I wanted
Mhm.
something that was real, that tangible, that I could see that would actually go up in value without me constantly having to feed it. So that started me on my journey to look into real estate investing. I got my license, started going to seminars, reading books, and along the way I decided, yeah, I really don't want to do tenants, toilets, and termites. Not that that's bad or that that's wrong. It just wasn't for me. I didn't want the hassles and headaches. I don't have time for that.
Mhm.
I wanted something that would be working for me while I'm living my life.
Welcome to the Wealth Vibe Show. I'm your host, Venki Loomba. Let me ask you something today. What if one of the smartest way to build long-term wealth today is something most investors barely pay attention to? There's no tenants to manage, no repairs, no constant stress. Yet it sits quietly behind the economic growth, development, and where the future is going. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. On the show, we explore how people create, protect, retain, and expand wealth, not just through the strategies, but through long term thinking and intentional decisions. So, today's conversation is about land, and more specifically, the land banking as a wealth strategy most people overlook. The title for the show is The Wealth Asset Most Investors Ignore. I'm super excited to welcome my guest today, Marcella Silva. Marcella, welcome to the Wealth 5 Show. I'm so glad that you're here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Vinky. It is my joy and pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
But before we dive in, let's take about 30 seconds, Marcella, and you introduce yourself in your own words, who you are, what you do, and what pulled you into this world of land banking or land.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Again, my name is Marcella Silva, and I am a certified land banking expert and investor and regional manager for Velour Real Estate Services. I found this amazing investment called land banking back in 2008 when I was looking for my own diversification. I used to be a software engineer working for the government, and I knew that the 401k would never get me to where I wanted to be. And that started me on my journey in building wealth for myself. And land has been a tried and true investment throughout history and for myself. So currently, I personally own over 4 million square feet of land in the most high growth areas of California and help people do what I have done every single day.
Wow, that's awesome. You said how many acres? Four
Over 4.5 million square feet of
square
land.
feet. Wow, 4.5
Yeah.
million. That's amazing. And that's in California too, which
Yes,
is really, really amazing. So, how did you get started into land banking?
yeah.
Like, this is one of the I will say, most overlooked asset class, you know. And what made you believe that you're gonna be committed to something like this and it's gonna bring you that much success?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I used to be a software engineer, and back in 2007, when I was working at Lawrence Livermore Labs, they went through a major transition. And as a result of that transition, they completely changed all of their benefits, including their retirement. So I had an
Mhm.
opportunity at that time, Binky, to either take my old 401k and roll it into the new 401k program or do something else with it. And I vividly remember sitting at my kitchen table, looking at my 401k statement, thinking to myself, the only way this goes up is when I put money into it. This is ridiculous. I'm never going to be able to retire at this rate. So I knew
Right.
I had to do something different. I wanted
Mhm.
something that was real, that tangible, that I could see, that would actually go up in value without me constantly having to feed it. So that started me on my journey to look into real estate investing. I got my license, started going to seminars, reading books, and along the way, I decided, yeah, I really don't want to do tenants, toilets, and termites. Not that that's bad or that that's wrong. It just wasn't for me. I didn't want the hassles and headaches. I don't have time for that.
Mhm.
I wanted something that would be working for me while I'm living my life. And so I didn't give up. And eventually I met a lady who started telling me about land banking. And I was like, land banking? What is that? And how come nobody ever talks about investing in land?
Right.
And long story short, I went and learned all about it and knew instantly. It was like this instant gut feeling that that was what I was looking for. So in 2008, I took my old 401k, rolled it into a self-directed IRA, and used that to purchase my very first property. And I have to say, I think it was divine right timing because we all know what happened in 2008. And luckily, pulled my money out of the stock market before I lost it all. And not only
Mhm.
did the value of my land not go down, but it actually more than doubled in the first year. So I
Mhm.
was amazed with the opportunity and knew I had to learn more about it, and ultimately decided to retire from my engineering career to do this full time and let others know about this amazing opportunity.
Wow. And you're buying the land in California, right? Like you said, you own a lot of land in California. So why California? Why you think it's like this specific area? California is like one of the most expensive state. What were you thinking? Like from the
Absolutely.
growth or the expansion perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah. California it's a huge state, but what most people don't know is that there's very limited land left for
Mhm.
development. And to be able to acquire the right land in the right areas is can provide tremendous wealth. So why California? It's the fourth largest economy in the world. Economics
Mhm.
plays a huge piece in investing in land correctly. Could you buy land anywhere? Yes. But we are trying to eliminate risks
Mhm.
and get in where the profit is biggest. And so
Mhm.
where there's limited land, lots of growth in various different sectors, and that provides a wealth creating situation. And like they say, they're not making any more land. And anyone from California or familiar with California knows that the land just continues to disappear to development.
Mm, that's true. But I'm still intrigued by this land banking. How does it exactly work? Like you said, you doubled up your money after 1 year, and that just made you more confident. Oh, okay, this is the route you want me to take. So take us through that journey and also share with us how this all in all, conception to completion, it works, the land banking.
Sure. So, land banking, by definition, is the practice of buying affordable pre developed land
Mhm.
located in the path of growth. So, pre developed land means there's existing developments, existing infrastructure in an area. We're not buying land out in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing happening. And it has to be a high growth area. How do you determine a high growth area? You have to understand the economics. You have to understand growth. There's a lot of data analysis and research and experience that goes behind that. And the company that I work with has been doing this for 47 years. So they know what to look for. It's understanding both the macro and microeconomics of an area.
Mhm.
The research goes very, very deep here. And so imagine, a great way to picture what land banking is imagining an area where maybe you grew up, or if you're
Hmm.
from California, where there once was a bunch of land and now it looks completely different today, development everywhere, right? Imagine being able to own that land before the development got there. And
Hmm.
so some very well-known land bankers are farmers because they own the land and then development comes and buys up their land and develops it out. So we very strategically do the research and position our investors in the path of growth where developers will need the land. So I simply just buy the land, hold it, and developers come knocking on my door. And that's a very powerful position to be in because there's only so much land available. You can't just run off to Costco and buy another piece of land. There's
That's so
limited
true.
land available. And
Hmm.
when a developer needs your land and you're being part of a consolidation for a development,
Hmm.
again, that's a powerful position to be in and to negotiate to get amazing, amazing, sometimes like unbelievable returns
Hmm.
for the land. So it's very different than traditional real estate. When someone buys a house, it's based off of comps and that type of thing. With land, land is an imperfect market, and therefore we're able to negotiate and get amazing prices for our investors. Or lease the land too. Leasing has been a wonderful opportunity as well.
Oh, okay, so two takeaways from here. Number one, you said you hold the land. How long do you hold the land?
Sure. So land is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a
Of
long-term
course. Mhm.
investment. It's something the wealthy have always invested in. It's a cornerstone asset. And like I said, they're not making any more of it. And it's through the natural growth and progression of an area,
Mhm.
which doesn't happen overnight.
Mhm.
So typically, average hold time can be 7 to 10 years. It can be much shorter, especially around a specific trend, or it could be longer. It just depends. So we want our investors to use long-term patient funds. This is all about diversification and having a solid asset that will continue to perform.
And the second thing you mentioned, lease it. How does that work? Who do you lease the land to, and for how
Yeah.
long?
So when most people think about development, they think about housing and commercial developments, that type of thing, the community. Well, there's another type of development that is consuming land at the fastest rate in history, and you can probably see it in the picture behind me. It's massive utility scale solar and wind projects. And there's a lot of reasons why these are coming in. It is actually mandated that they have to come in. Well, some of these companies are leasing our land for 25 all the way to 45 years, where our investors are getting their returns back within the first year to 4 years at most, and the rest is all pure profit. And in the end, they still own the land, which is going to be worth significantly more in the future. And there's no tenants, toilets, and termites. You simply just own the dirt that they need. It is truly the new age oil well.
Wow, I like the concept, this dirt to dollars, basically, and no extra maintenance right there, maintenance headache or cost. So earlier you mentioned that, that there is a relationship between economy and the land. So what is the relationship between the land and economics, and how does land play such a foundational role, how economies grow?
Yeah. So having a strong economy is very important. With a strong economy, that's things like commerce, right? An example of an economic factor that's been consuming a lot of land is the Amazon effect.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves buying stuff online. Well, the stuff doesn't just pop out of thin air. Those goods come in from ports, so understanding where infrastructure is and the movement of goods. And then they go to massive distribution centers, fulfillment centers, that type of thing. So understanding where companies like Amazon are putting massive distribution facilities
That's
where
true,
the
the
land is
warehouses. Mhm.
affordable and
Mm-hmm.
and available for development and within a 100 to 200 mile radius of major metro markets. So
Mm-hmm.
we get ahead of that. We own the industrial land that these guys need, and they need millions of square feet for every, what was it, every $1 billion in online sales. They need 1.25 million square feet of warehouse space to make that happen. So
Mm-hmm.
owning the land needed for that. And then as new industry comes into an area, that's causing population growth because it's creating jobs. So how many people are employed in a 1 million square foot building? Roughly 1,000 people. And so we're seeing, there's a direct correlation between movement of goods and then new housing being built, new industrial being built. And then looking beyond that, all of that needs energy. So where is that energy coming from? Where is the city, the county, the state, international investors putting in money to put in the infrastructure for all of the energy, and where's that energy coming from? So it gets really, really big. And I want to try to keep this as simple as possible right now, but it all works together. It's all very synergistic. And knowing the pro-business city governments that want developments to come in too. You don't want to own land in a city that makes it very difficult for developers to come in. So there's a lot of different aspects, and that's just kind of like there's a little drop in the bucket of everything that we look at as far as economics go.
Yeah, I think it's all interrelated because, if you look at it, with the population growth, development ought to happen, where they're gonna go. Obviously, you need to have the land, and if you already invested in that, that's gonna make it more lucrative for you, Maybe it's gonna be time for you to look for an exit at the right time, when there's economy is growing and then there is like more development is happening overall. And I think this is like the one piece that fits right into the puzzle. So I want to ask you, like, real estate, we go through cycles. There's ups and downs. Always, it's like a 10 after 10 years, we do see some downtrend, some uptrend. It's like it goes through a cycle. It never stays static. So how about the land? What do you think or feel at current, you think land banking makes sense for the investors at this time? And if yes, why? Because the market is down and we know a lot of deals are struggling. And wanted to get your perspective on the land banking, and so that our investors, they get the insight into it, whether this is a good time to get into land banking.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the interesting piece about land is the less and less of it available, the more the value continues
Value
to
goes up.
rise, right? And that's also why we invest in an area where there's multiple different economic trends causing the area to grow. That way, if there is a downturn, if there is something like a black swan event, a pandemic, or something crazy going on, there's still developments happening. That's why we don't invest in places like, people ask me, why not Las Vegas, Nevada? Well, economy goes down, people stop going for entertainment and gambling. And then that affects development and growth. We want areas, people haven't stopped buying stuff on e-commerce, and more importantly, energy, regardless of what's happening in the economy, energy is always needed. So we're investing in a fundamental everyday need where it's not affected. It doesn't have big swings like other traditional types of investments. And as a matter of fact, in 2025, we saw more land consumed than we ever have seen before. It's mind blowing what's happening out there. And so, again, it comes back to understanding basics, economics, and what causes growth so that we're investing in areas where the land will always be needed.
So when you're talking about energy, I think you use the word multiple times, energy, how the energy is generated. So can you tell us the relationship between the energy and the land? Obviously, talk about the solar power or just the data centers or whatever, but we'd like to hear from your experience and your viewpoint, how you relate that to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, land is a fundamental asset we all use every day. And energy is a fundamental resource. We all use
Exactly.
energy every day, and energy needs land to be created.
Mhm.
So, on top of that, layered on top of that is specifically here in California, they have mandated, and they've been doing so since roughly 2005, but 2011 is when it really started to take off. They started putting in assembly bills and Senate bills to mandate that California goes 100% green by the year 2045. And
Mhm.
as a result of that mandate, now we're seeing renewable energy projects coming in at a staggering pace. And I mean, some of these projects are multiple square miles large. The largest one in America is under construction right now, where we're investing. It's 13 square miles large. And
Mhm.
so 13 square miles, that's a lot of land.
It is. Oh my God.
Understanding where they're going. So, where's the infrastructure? Where is the sun most intense? Where is land available and developable and
Mhm.
not government land? So there's a multiple different aspects to understand that, getting ahead of it, acquiring the land. So we're looking at where is, the major power companies, Southern California Edison, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, where are they putting in billions of dollars for infrastructure? And why? We always ask, why is this happening? And we dig deeper to understand the why before we make moves in getting the land and doing the
Mhm.
research on the land.
Interesting. So can you walk us through the whole investor journey? What does that look like? How if somebody is looking to, explore this area, especially land banking, and get to know you more? Obviously, you can share your contact information later. But right now, if you can walk us through the journey, what would it look like for investor? How they can start, and then what it's gonna look like throughout the course till they exit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first step, get educated. I recommend people to watch my webinar, and we'll share that link for folks so that they can understand the whole who, what, where, why aspect of this and get their education about land banking. From there, if they want to move forward, I'm happy to meet with people to discuss their goals, their investment funds, and help them get a property that meets what they're looking for. And then from there, they go through escrow. So it's a traditional escrow process, typically 21 days. It's all cash, 401ks, IRAs. There is no traditional lending for land, although people do things like they'll take a HELOC, so taking debt equity that might be in a house or something and moving that into land and growing it that way. I also have a lot of people who do 1031 exchanges. That is a possibility for land as well. So they acquire the land, and then after that, they can continue to stay updated and educated about what's going on because the land never calls you on the phone, which is a good news. It never bothers you or causes you stress. And stay updated. So we constantly have webinars and meetings to keep people in the loop about everything that's happening. And as development comes in within a 3-mile radius of their property, the value of it continues to grow. So our land is always silently growing. That's why we want to be in those high growth areas. And then developers will say, okay, imagine, Vinky, if you will, that your keyboard, every little letter is a different parcel of land. And let's say you own letter J on that keyboard. A developer
Mhm.
comes along and they want to buy the entire keyboard. Well, you're in the middle of it. Again, that's a
Mhm.
powerful position to be in. So they find out who the landowner is. They start contacting them saying, hey, we need your land. We want to buy it. We want to lease it, whatever the case may be. And we will help our investors to negotiate to get the highest and best price for their property. And we don't charge anything for that. We want them to do very, very well. And then they sell it, they lease it, they make a lot of money. Maybe they invest more, whatever the case may be. And that's the end of the story.
Wow, that's good. But did you hear this recent news I heard in I think a few weeks back or something that they're gonna be starting putting this energy generation or the data centers in space? Did you hear about that? like how technology is moving so fast because they wanted to go with the sun, because if they are building these data centers there, or the I would say the energy centers there, they're like run by solar power because it's going to go with the sun, and then sun, they can have like 24-hour availability for the sunlight, right? Not necessarily they have to find a piece of land or a piece of place where it's like the most sun is there. Did you hear about that? What are your thoughts on
I've
that?
heard
I'm
some
like, that's
things about
exciting.
that. You know, there's always new technologies coming out, and honestly, that's a good thing because there's not enough land available to be able to do this.
Exactly.
The land is the easiest and the cheapest. It's the low-hanging fruit. And right now, solar energy is the cheapest form of electricity in history. And that's why it is the number one form of new electricity generation technologies happening across the globe right now. And so the states, the countries that are getting ahead of that are the ones who are going to truly win the quote unquote AI race. And so will those types of things last? I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball for the future. All I know is what's happening right now. And billions of dollars is being spent on all of the infrastructure and the projects to make this a reality because we need the energy yesterday.
That's true. So let's talk a little bit about AI, since you mentioned AI, because I'm like a technology geek. I have a technology background. I was a IT executive for like 20 years, so that's like my forte. And then I see the AI is reshaping the future, or we are stepping into something, you call it a limitless world. So, since you mentioned AI, and that makes me think, what does that have to do with land? And then how this AI or the future technology trends are reshaping or change the way maybe you're positioning the land opportunities or evaluating the land opportunities. So, share with us your experience on that.
Absolutely. And this is a large topic, but emerging technologies like AI, first of all, AI data centers, they don't float in space, they need land. And the AI data centers are worthless unless they have the energy to power them. So again, we're back to that idea of energy and providing enough energy generation. They've done studies, and some AI data centers take as much energy as an entire city. Here in California alone, they've done studies and they said by the year 2030, which is not very far off, California's energy consumption is going to increase just by through AI, the equivalent amount of it powering the entire city of Los Angeles
I heard that too. Yes.
just by AI. And it's not just AI. So I mentioned earlier a 13 square mile solar project that's currently under construction. Guess who already agreed to take all of the energy from this particular project? Amazon. For their data center. One data
Hmm.
center, 13
Hmm.
square miles of land. It's
Hmm.
mind blowing.
It is.
And another trend that's rapidly growing in the emerging technologies is robotics. So Amazon is replacing a lot of workers with robots. I love Amazon from beginning to end because number one, we need the warehouses for all the goods. Number two, they need all the energy to power their data centers, to power everything, and they're committed to going green. So I don't know about you, Vinky, but the last Amazon delivery guy was driving an electric vehicle. There are electric vehicle mandates here in California.
Hmm.
Where are
Hmm.
we going to get all the power to power the electric vehicles? And it's not just consumer vehicles, it's also the commercial vehicles as
Commercial
well.
vehicles.
So it
Hmm.
starts to grow very, very fast. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, here in California, there are 68% more electric vehicle chargers than there are gas nozzles, and it's
Hmm.
growing even faster. So where's the solar going? for it? Where are the battery energy storage systems going for that, which has been a huge moneymaker for our investors? Where is the infrastructure going to handle all of that? And who's paying for it? Understanding, again, we're back to the economics and understanding those details, then acquiring the land, which is needed for all of those things.
So let me ask you this. So when you were talking about acquiring the land, you walk us through your model. So is it more like a syndication kind of model, or is it like investor, they own the land rights to themselves? And I mean, one way or the other, how does a distinction matter from the wealth building standpoint?
Sure, sure. So just for clarity, because I forgot to mention it earlier, minimum investment starts at 25,000 and goes up from
Uh-huh.
there, and people can purchase a property for 25 grand on their own. They get the grant deed, they get title insurance with the property, they own it, they're in full control. I do have people who maybe form their own syndications like an LLC and they can buy
Uh-huh.
it that way. I have people who also, partner with friends and that type of thing. So they can do that. But yes, they own the land, they are in full control, they can do whatever they want with that land.
So do they do them like, is there any minimum kind of maintenance required when they own the land? Like how you wire it or how you keep it clean or all those things. Who does
Sure.
that?
For about 98.5% of our investors, it's all just paying property taxes. And the good news is, most people think, oh my gosh, property taxes in California is so expensive. As a matter of fact, it's not with land. All of our properties are under Proposition 13 here in California. So people are
Oh.
looking at paying no more than 1.3% of the purchase price.
Uh-huh.
And like for me, I own 13 parcels of land and I pay no more than $4,000 a year on all of them combined.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
it's a very low holding cost, and that's it. That's it. Every once in a while, and this is for mostly for land that is in the city limits, so for land that's being used for city growth,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a weed abatement, there's too much weed or something, weeds on your land, you got to clear that off. That happens very rarely, once in a great while, but that's a possibility too.
So can you use your 401k or your IRA account to purchase land parcel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 80% of my investors use self-directed IRAs. So they roll over
Mm-hmm.
their old 401ks, IRAs. They want to put their money to work. It's not doing anything in their 401ks. So, yes, they can do that. And it's an
So let me,
easy investment
uh-huh.
for that.
Perfect. So let me ask you something about the financial goals. Everybody has some financial goals, whether it's us or the investors. So, what financial goals are investors typically trying to achieve through the land banking? And how does this strategy support their goals differently than the traditional real estate investments?
Yeah. Excuse me. I can't speak for everyone, but I'll speak for myself.
Exactly.
I
We wanted to know your
personally,
experience.
yeah, I personally invest for a minimum of 25% annualized return on my properties. If it's less than that, I'm not selling it. And that's the beauty with land is, like I said, you can negotiate with these developers and get amazing returns, and we help our investors do that. So, like I said, I own about 4.5 million square feet of land that I purchased for roughly, on average, 50 cents per square foot. If I sell my land for $1 per square foot, I've doubled my investment. One of my properties is worth $30 per square foot, just to give you an idea. So these are the types of multiples that our investors can get. It's truly phenomenal. And then, the lease aspect of it, we have some investors that are getting 50, 65, 75, 100% return every single year for decades on those leases because we're buying it. We want to buy the land at 20 cents up to maybe $2 per square foot, depending on zoning and type of land. And then we're selling it at, 5, 10, 15, whatever the case may be, depending on the zoning of the land.
Okay, so I wanted to get one clarification from you. You mentioned, you buy the land, you hold the land for 7 years, 10 years, maybe, right? Long time. And then at the same time, you mentioned a few times that there's a yearly return. So how you're calculating the yearly return? Is it like after the exit, then you say it's gonna be annualized return, it's gonna something look like, or there's any annual return while you're holding the land, you're making some money at the time too.
Yeah, the only time there's an annual return is if you've leased the land. And so,
Lease the land.
yeah, those aspects of where I said people are getting those annual returns, that's on the leasing. That's the
Okay.
leasing of the land. For me, I'm calculating, okay, when I'm selling the land to the investor, what is my annualized return? That's what I'm looking at. And typically, and these are conservative numbers, 25% annualized return is a conservative number from what I've personally seen
Mm-hmm.
for our investments.
So it could be much better than that. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So, what is the biggest misconception people have about land banking, and what kind of mindset does it really require to be successful?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is this idea of cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting, but a lot of the real estate investors I've met who buy rentals for cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately where they make their money is when they sell the property. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the huge equity gain that they get on the sale of the property,
Mm-hmm.
assuming there's any equity gain.
Mm-hmm.
The equity gains that we see with land, from what I've seen, far exceeds what I've seen in housing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I buy a house, for example, the house I live in, $600 per square foot, to double the value of my house, it would have to go to $1,200 per square foot. Would it ever get there? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So most people are looking for that huge payout. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't calculate in their cash flow, what about all the maintenance or the worst case scenario? One of my investors, the roof blew off the house. I mean, or I was talking to a guy yesterday, the tenant, every time the tenant calls him, he's stressed out. So what is the stress and anxiety of your investments doing to your health? That's what I love about land. It causes me no stress, is an easy, peaceful investment that's growing without me having to do anything, put any money into it. And that's why a lot of investors come to me or doing 1031 exchange and going into land because they realize that traditional real estate maybe is a lot of headache. And I'm not saying don't do those things. Diversification. Why not have multiple different assets working for you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that. So seems like it's a very solid wealth building strategy, the land banking as well. So one last question before we move on to a rapid fire round. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? An investor uses their emergency funds to invest in the land. A year later, they're calling me up, Marcella, I need to sell my land. And you have to do a fire sale on your land. That's not a good deal.
Mhm.
You're setting yourself up to fail in those cases. So that's why I want tell investors, educate them. This is a long-term investment. Use long-term investable funds. People say, "Oh, I want to retire when I'm 65." Okay, but do you need all your money at 65? What if you live till you're 95? That's 30
Exactly.
years of money that somebody needs.
Mhm.
So having that long-term vision and knowing that they have a cornerstone asset that continues to grow in value over time. That's just the way land has always worked. And that's why it's been a cornerstone investment for the wealthy throughout history.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I think this is really good. I say that all the time too. I'm 100% aligned with you. To all my investors, if you wanted to invest in real estate, I mean, this is one of the best vehicles out there anyways, regardless of asset class. So you got to have, little bit risk appetite and patience if you
Patience.
wanted to be successful in real estate. And regardless of the asset class, you're going to win eventually if you have the patience and if you have the risk appetite to work. So it meaning, say, you're not using your day-to-day or the utility funds that you're putting into real estate, because you're not going to see the returns right away. So this brings us to our rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. These are going to be surprise questions for you, and you're going to answer it in one word or one sentence only. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes, I think so. I'm sweating over here, Vinky.
You'll be good. So what does wealth mean to you in one word?
Freedom.
Oh, I like that. Why do most investors struggle to build long-term wealth?
Fear.
I like that. How would you describe the mindset needed to invest in land?
Abundance mentality and open to opportunities.
I like that. What asset class do you think is most misunderstood?
Land.
How do you feel about the future of investing in one word?
The sky's the limit. Unlimited.
I would say sky's not even the limit anymore, right? Like I already told you, we are stepping in, we already stepped into a limitless world. So I think this was such an interesting conversation, Marcella. Can you tell us how can people reach out to you? Because it's such an eye-opening concept, and it's a very, very intense conversation about land and land banking. And that's another powerful wealth building strategy out there and that people wanted to know about maybe. And then if somebody wants to reach out to you, wanted to learn more about you, how they can do that?
Absolutely. Go to dirtisgold.com. Dirtisgold.com.
I love it. Oh my
Yes,
God.
it's simple, it's easy. The webinar, you can access the webinar that way. If you want to connect with me directly, send me an email and we can schedule something. Marcella, Marcella at dirtisgold.com.
Oh my God, I love it. Dirtisgold.com. Please go there and check her out. And Marcella, thank you so much spending your time with me today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I just shifted my mindset about land banking. I heard about it before, but not in that much in depth. And thanks for sharing your insight. And then everybody out there listening, we'll be back again next week with another powerful conversation. And until then, stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep building your wealth vibe. Thanks, Marcella.
Thank
Again, such a
you.
delight to have you.
It's been my joy and pleasure. Thank you, everyone who's tuned into this. And I appreciate your time and all that you do, Vinky.
Thanks again.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wealth Vibe Show. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget your free gift. Download the Busy Professional's Guide to Real Estate Investing at loombainvest.com. See you next time with another amazing guest and another powerful conversation.